Welcome, guys. My name is Mike Kerrigan here at the Wealth DynamX headquarters. I want to say welcome for those who are here at the Anchorage headquarters, and for those who are viewing online, thank you. This is our wealth creation course. We do this every Friday night at 7 o'clock. It is free. I actually just ran into a gentleman tonight. He said, hey, it sounds cool. You guys have a course. Does it actually work? I was like, yeah, the information is free. Every Friday, we're here every Friday. It's free, right? If you actually apply the information we teach you every week, you could actually make wealth, okay? It's actually something you could create into your life, okay? So tonight, I'm gonna put a big focus on what we're doing this weekend. So this is the second Sunday of every month. Operation Reborn is a nonprofit organized by the Maverick Group, which is another group that we built together from Cliff Goffner, Alaska Management Group, Sean Item, owner and founder of Hair Science Barbershop, Matthew Lindsay, Precision Home Group, and our very own Coach Jerry Fetta, owner of Wealth DynamX. So we put together the Operation Reborn in a way for us to actually create some sort of actual effect on the city to where we could help not only the at-risk youth, but the homeless population. Right? There are people out there who are struggling, just getting by, and we need to actually take responsibility for the city and go back and help to give to our city. So Operation Reborn is every second Sunday of the month from 11 to 3, and that's going to be at the Hair Science on 15th and C Street, and that's going to be this Sunday as well. So what we're doing is we're trying to help the community there come get free haircuts, get educated on sales training with Cardone University, and we're also going to be providing hot meals and also get them an opportunity to apply for a job that same day and actually interview for a job. Okay, so if you guys would promote and share that, that's all that we ask. If you're in the local area, if you're going to be visiting Alaska this summer, come on down. If you're in town, we'd love to have you. We need more people promoting this opportunity, as well as getting more people involved, attending to the attendees there, making them feel welcome and know that we care about the community. So without further ado, Operation Reborn.
Today's event, Operation Reborn, is all about connecting the homeless community with potential employers.
And what we're doing is we are feeding, we're grooming, and we're empowering Anchorage's at-risk youth and homeless community to get back into the workplace, to get back into a life of productivity. We've got the barbecue tent right over here, so we're getting people fed. We've got AJ's Barbecue, phenomenal food. We have Hair Science Barbershops. As soon as people are done eating, they're going right in.
After that, we have guest speakers coming in every event to talk about the homeless community. Now, these guest speakers have all dealt with homelessness themselves. They've been there and they pulled out of that.
So I know what it feels like to be there. I can connect and relate to people that are going through those situations, and just want to help in whatever ways that we can to try to get people back on their feet and pointing in the right direction. We're just taking a concerted effort to try to get guys cleaned up, groomed, feed them a little bit, and then hopefully put some message of empowerment in their mind and in their hearts.
So we have Wealth DynamX University partnered up with Grant Cardone, playing inside Hair Science. We're teaching about sales, we're teaching about business, we're teaching about employment, how to get a job, we're talking mindset.
Get these people off the street, get them jobs, get their mindsets changed, and get our economy growing.
Because you have goals, and every day, you work towards them, but, just life happens, and sometimes you get veered off course. It kind of changes your thinking from where I was before today, where it's like now I'm thinking about other things, and I think that's valuable, real valuable.
They're looking at themselves in the mirror,
Yes.
and they see their haircut, they feel good, they look good, they just smile, you can tell it.
They got that light.
Yeah.
See guys coming to the shop, down in the dumps. By the time you hand them the mirror after you've cut their hair, shaved them, whatever the service they might be getting, they just do a complete 360 as far as their personality and their confidence.
And just the look on people's faces when they're done, they've been fed, they've been groomed, they're looking good, they're feeling good. The effect that that's creating is making them open to hearing about, all right, what else can I change? What else can be different?
It puts you on the right track. Like, okay, now I got to think about this, and I got to make sure that, you know, I keep these things in mind as I go forward.
As a business owner, but even more so as a citizen and as a part of this community, I feel like it's my obligation to help in whatever ways I can, whatever gifts I have, to try to affect the community in a positive way.
So we're going to be here second Sunday every month. Please come by 11 to 3. We will be here whether people come or not. So make sure you share this, get the word out there, make sure everyone that can know about this event does and shows up.
Today's event, it was a great success. However, we need to get more people here. We need to affect a bigger change. Our hearts are for the city, and so help us help the city by sharing this. Thank you.
Awesome. So that's Operation Reborn. So once again, thank you for coming tonight. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Your mission, if you choose to do so, is to eradicate poverty in your lives and outpace the currency devaluation rate of almost 2,400% accumulated over the last century. New intel suggests that a wealth creation formula provided by Wealth DynamX will allow you to do that if we implement it. As always, if you or your associates are caught, the Secretary will disavow all acknowledgments of your actions. Good luck. And without further ado, Coach Jerry Fetta.
All right, thank you, Mike. Let's get a round of applause for Mike. That's awesome. So, guys, if you are tuning in live and you've never seen us before, this is Wealth DynamX. I am Jerry. Should I be on this side, Nano, or this side?
That's good.
This side better?
A little bit more to your right.
Right here? Cool. So if you guys are just joining, I'm Jerry. If you don't know me, I want to apologize for that. That's my bad. So I own a company called Wealth DynamX, and basically we do 4 things. So we help people, gain more knowledge on money. We help people make more money, keep more of what they're making, and we help them multiply it as well using real income producing assets. And so every night we bring a free wealth creation course to the community of Anchorage. We stream it online on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere we can. And so if you're just joining us, we want to thank you for being here. We're going to be jumping into our presentation tonight. Lexi, are we able to make this a little more visible?
Yes.
Awesome. So as this says, the company is Wealth DynamX, and we help teach 3 main things, okay? So we're helping people, if you want to turn the lights off, that's better. Is that better for you guys? Yeah. Awesome. So we help with 3 main things. The first one being purpose, the second one being wealth, the third one being freedom. I've been working in business for almost 8 years now. And so we established the company in 2012, or we reinvented it in 2017. And I started out, part of my story, I was a traditional financial advisor. I actually worked for Dave Ramsey. Okay, we'll find out about that in a bit. I did that for several years. I was endorsed in 5 different states by Dave. I was teaching people to save $1,000 in their emergency fund, pay off all consumer debt, get 3 to 6 months income put away in the bank, invest 15% into their retirement plan and Roth IRA, pay off their home, and then put all the rest of it into retirement plans and annuity programs. That's the Dave Ramsey plan. As you can tell, I know it very well. That's what I did for a living. Now, I ended up tearing that business down and actually giving it away over the information I'm going to share with you guys tonight. Okay, at the time, I was making probably right around $250,000 per year in income. And when I learned the information I'm going to show you guys tonight, I felt sick. For about 3 days, I was sick to my stomach because I couldn't believe, A, that I had never learned this before, and B, I was sharing information with people that was commonly known. It was the stuff that financial experts were teaching, churches were teaching, the military was teaching, the retirement system was teaching, and that information wasn't correct. Okay, with information, we've got to realize there's either, if something's not working, it's incorrect information, or it's information applied correctly, or it's information applied incorrectly, or it's information we've quit on because we haven't done it long enough to see it work. That can be a reason why something's not working for you. Or it could just be that the wrong stuff is being taught. So we're going to look at some stats tonight, and we're going to see that the average American is not in a very good spot financially. Okay, the average American right now is not doing well. And we can say it's because people are lazy. We can say it's because they're stupid. We can say it's because of all these different things. But at the end of the day, there's this quote that I like. You guys have all heard the quote, knowledge is power, right? Okay, if knowledge is power, what is the wrong knowledge? It's also power, right? And you wouldn't know it because you would be like, man, this is what I've been taught since I was a kid. This is what I've always known. So we're going to dive into tonight some stuff that's probably counterintuitive to what you believe. And before we do that, I want to just hit the statement of intention. Lexi, if you want to run my slides. So let's jump to the next slide here. So our intention tonight is a couple of things. So the first thing is we want to give you enough information for you to, A, gain financial certainty. Okay, financial certainty means you don't feel like you have to guess. Okay, who's pretty certain about how to get to their house? Because you've done it over and over, right? It's not something you have to guess at. You've been there so many times, you know it like the back of their hand. Now, who in the room is certain on how to get to my house? Not a lot of people. Okay, a couple of you raise your hand. It's going to be a little bit creepy to admit that because I've never had you over yet. Okay, but you've never been there, so that route is not familiar. So we want to show you a route financially that when you see the information, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see the information and you're going to go like, man, this is what my gut has always told me. Everyone's told me it's false. I knew I should have listened, and I was right the whole time. That's how you're going to have certainty. We're going to activate information that you already knew in your gut. You already knew this stuff was correct. You just got taught the wrong information by somebody else to replace it, okay? Second thing, we're going to teach you how to earn more money. Okay, when we talk finances, it's popular to talk about paying off debt. It's popular to talk about investing. It's popular to talk about taxes. What's not popular is talking about how to earn more income. Okay, every single person in this room and almost probably every single person on the live stream has had a conversation with me about how they're going to increase their income. It's not a pretty topic, it's not a popular topic, but it's the first topic that needs to get covered, okay? We're going to teach you how to keep more of your money. We're going to teach you how to multiply it with cash flowing assets, not speculation, something that's going to pay you every single month. We would like for you to become a client. We would like you to join us in business. We are hiring salespeople, and we would also like you to refer us to your friends and family. And so those are the intentions we have tonight. Okay, now as you're going into this, you might have some different intentions too. Maybe you're on Instagram or Facebook right now, and you're like, man, this thing popped up. I'm going to check it out, and in 3 minutes, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to go watch Netflix the rest of the night. I implore you not to do that. If your income is not where it needs to be, you have no business involving yourself in entertainment right now. You have to be focused on your income. You can go do whatever you want to do once you've got your income up, okay? But what we're teaching you guys tonight is not going to be get rich quick. It's going to be take 40 years worth of work and compact it into 10 years. That means you're going to be working the weekends. That means you're not going to see your spouse very much. That means you might sacrifice a couple years with your kids. But the outcome is going to be you have freedom for the rest of your life. Okay? So as you're listening to this, yes, there will be a pitch. So you can go ahead and get that out of your head. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Okay, the other thing is don't use this as a scapegoat. Don't blame your kids. Don't blame your wife. Don't blame your job. Don't blame time. Don't blame the economy. Don't blame money. Don't blame anything but your own knowledge and your own actions. Okay, it always comes down to two things. If you're going to do well financially, you have to have the knowledge and you have to be willing. So if you're not winning financially, the first thing you should look at is, am I willing? Do I have my foot on the gas or the brake? Now, if I got my foot on the gas, I'm going to go. If I'm willing, I'm going to make that happen. Now, if I'm willing and I'm still not getting there, then it's simply knowledge. I've got the wrong information. I've got the wrong data. Who's ever had a computer virus? Okay, that is by definition the wrong data getting into the brain of the system and causing it to operate incorrectly, and the computer thinks it's doing the right thing the entire time. It doesn't know it has a virus. It just is doing what it's taught to do. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here's a little bit about wealth dynamics. So a few things we believe right off the bat. We believe money has no actual value. Okay, now I love this one because I'll talk to people about wealth and they're like, man, you know, I don't believe in money. I don't believe in wealth. I'm not interested. We agree with you. Money has literally no value. Okay, money has no value until you spend it, in fact. Okay, so, but we still all spend our lives serving the 40-year per week, or 40-hour per week, 40-year to life sentence, trading our time for money. Think about that. Money has no value and you trade your time. And time's not real. Time is the measurement of motion. Okay, cavemen didn't like automatically come up with time. Like they had to make sense of how they got a 5 o'clock shadow and where the sun went and why it's not in that spot anymore and how fast that boulder went and how quickly they ran from that dinosaur. That's how time got invented. Okay, so your time actually represents activity. Okay, your activity represents you. It represents your energy. It represents your creativity. It literally represents your life. So when you trade time for money, you're trading your life. for a green piece of paper. We're about to learn about this green piece of paper on how it goes down in value. You're trading your life away for that. We don't believe you were created for that. So the truth is, though, time and money still have to be exchanged. Okay, when I learned this initially, and I just learned the very tip of the iceberg at the age of 17, I can vividly remember quitting on money in my car. I was driving up Kaniku's Bay Road in Wasilla, 2002 Chevy Tracker, red Tracker, blue door. I got in a wreck with a moose. We changed the door out. And I'm driving up thinking, all right, so I'm on my way to work right now to go to a job that I don't even like, to earn money that's backed by nothing. And I'm going to do that the rest of my life for what reason? And at that point in time, I was like, man, I'm not going to do this. I actually quit on money at the age of 17. Okay, and that decision led to me living paycheck to paycheck for several years. When Lexi and I first got married, we were homeless probably the first 3 months of our marriage. Circumstances happened. We didn't have enough. We were comfortable until we weren't. We ended up sleeping in an abandoned house. And it was pretty funny. You should have seen when the people found out we were sleeping in the house. So that was our first year of marriage, and that was because I quit on money. Not a great way to start a marriage out. So we believe that it still must be exchanged. You can opt out of that and do the poverty thing. You can say, all right, I'm going to ignore it and do the middle class thing, or you can realize the way out is wealth. The way to freedom is wealth. Get so much money that it does not matter. You don't think about it in your day-to-day decisions. You can give as much of it as you want. And you don't have to worry about, do I have enough? You're not counting it. It's like oxygen at that point. So we believe that you have to do that. And if you don't have at least $1 million in net worth, you're always going to be the one making that exchange for yourself. If you don't have at least $1 million in net worth, and guys, $1 million doesn't even cut it. The reason we say $1 million in net worth is there's what's called an accredited investor. Okay, Jeremy knows this, he does loans. If you're an accredited investor, you actually have access to private investments that the US government will not give access to anybody else in the middle class until they hit that threshold. Okay, so think about, like, you're playing the game and you get to a new level in the game and you realize that there's pieces and there's puzzles that you didn't even know about till you got to that threshold. Imagine how much those would have helped you from day one if you knew about them. But that's a classic example of the information changing when you get to a different point in the game. Okay, so we help people get there by creating massive wealth that exchanges time and money on their behalf so they can achieve purpose, wealth, and freedom in your life. Purpose, wealth, and freedom. Now, the thing is most people just go after freedom or wealth. That's the mistake. People are like, man, I want to get wealthy, right? I want to get rich. I see it on TV. I see it in the movies. I want to get there. Well, if you don't have a purpose, you're not going to do all the work it takes. Okay, I'm on the pursuit of wealth. I work probably 90 to 100 hours a week. Most people wouldn't do that. The reason I'm doing that is because I know why I'm doing it. I've got my purpose behind it. Now, the other thing people go for is freedom. They're like, man, I just want freedom. I don't want to worry about money. And they might get wealth as a byproduct of wanting freedom, but they don't have a purpose behind it. Okay, freedom alone is anarchy. Okay, if there's not the proper boundaries, the proper purposes, the rules to the game that you have to abide by, that freedom can actually enslave people because they're free from another thing, but they're not free into another thing. They just stay in limbo and get in trouble. Okay, so freedom by itself is not good either. You've got to have a combination of purpose, which is your why, the actual wealth to fund your lifestyle, and that gives you the freedom. And so that's what we teach our clients to do. So to get there, there's things you have to do. You have to truly understand money. You have to gain knowledge on money. And we're not talking about how to diversify your 401k plan. We're not talking about how to pay off your credit cards. We're talking about really, truly understanding money. Okay, really, truly understanding money means that you understand that money is simply an idea backed by confidence used as a medium of exchange. I'm going to say that one more time. That means that you understand money is simply an idea backed by confidence used as a medium of exchange. When you learn about money, you understand what that is and what that means. And if that's true, money becomes very easy to get. It's simply an idea. It's backed by confidence, and you use it for exchange. So you can have an idea. Other people have to be confident in your idea, which means you had to be confident in it first, and then you have to get an exchange to happen. Okay, Eric paints. Eric has to have the idea, I'm going to paint this office. Eric has to have confidence in his idea. I have confidence in my ability to paint the office to the degree that he can make Jerry and Lexi confident enough to say, man, we're going to hire Eric to paint the office. Now, we can hire Eric to paint the office, but Eric, if we don't exchange with you, are you going to paint our office? No. Hell no. You're going to be like, Cool, guys, I don't do volunteer work. Let me know when you can pay the invoice. Okay, so that's the reality. So you have to understand money, then you have to earn the income. Okay, and I would submit this. If you don't earn the income, you don't actually understand money yet. Okay, we've been taught in the education system that as soon as we hear the information or we read the information or we pass the test that we know, knowledge is gauged by results. I could pass all the tests in the world, and if I don't have the thing, then I don't have the knowledge. Okay, so earning money is the next thing. Next, we have to be able to keep more of it. Who knows somebody that earned tons of money and didn't keep any? We all know that, right? So you don't want to be that person. The top 1% of wealth I'm going to show you tonight keep more money than you could possibly believe. Okay, you'll read in a lot of books that savers are losers. Jeremy, if I try and come to you for a loan and I didn't save anything, what's the likelihood of me getting that loan?
It's a little low.
Kind of low. So savers are not losers. Now, the people that are losers are those that save and never do anything with the money. Okay, that's the story of the old man that has, $2 million in quarters rolled up under the bed and never did anything with it. You don't want to be that person. So you have to complete the equation by taking what you kept and multiplying it until you have a $1 million net worth. And then you take the $1 million net worth to $10 million. Okay, who remembers Hulk Hogan went through that lawsuit over the summer? Okay, Theo bailed him out. Theo said that if you don't have a $10 million net worth, you can't even afford proper legal care in the United States of America. That was the point he was trying to make when he bailed out Hulk Hogan. He said, I'm going to show as an example that if you do not have a $10 million net worth, you're not going to have the ability to defend yourself in our country. Okay, Hulk Hogan is an example of someone that earned the money, didn't seem like he kept it, and he didn't multiply it. Because when it came time to write the check, he didn't have the money for that. So you've got to do all 4 of those things. If you learn nothing else tonight, you should learn those 4 things. I need to understand what money is. I need to make it, I need to keep it, and I need to multiply it. Next slide. So a couple places you might have seen us real quick. So we do work with Grant Cardone. I'm a Grant Cardone certified coach and licensee. We're the #1 in the world for that. Right out of Anchorage, Alaska. I'm damn proud of that. You've probably heard us on Get Rich Education, Cash Flow Ninja, Never Settle Radio, and also through the Dave Ramsey program. As I mentioned, we were previously endorsed by Dave for about 3 years in about 5 or 6 different states. Okay, so these are some of the people we've worked with in the past. Next slide. And then some of our partners. So we work with a couple different partners that we're proud to represent. We are partners with Legal Shield. That's a 40-plus-year-old company that works in the legal space. They help with estate planning, business planning, trusts, legal consultation. We do work with Grant Cardone. For those of you that don't know, Grant Cardone is a 5 times New York Times best-selling author. He was ranked #1 CEO in the world by Forbes, #1 social media influencer by Inc. magazine. We also partner with Guardian Life Insurance Company. Guardian is almost 200 years old, one of the financial giants in our country, and we're proud to work with them. Same with Mass Mutual. They're actually a little older and a little bigger than Guardian. We are proud to partner with them too. Guys, these are financial giants. When we talk about the 1%, these are the types of companies you should be studying. Companies that have been around since the Civil War. Companies that have outlasted Standard Oil Trust. Think about companies you've seen come and go. These are guys that have been around forever. So when we're talking about wealth, we're not just talking about how do you retire at 60. We're talking about what are your grandkids' kids going to remember when they think of you? Will they remember anything? What are you going to leave behind for them to be like, man, grandpa did that for me. Or great-granddad did that for me. They should have a legacy, right? Next slide. So real quick, I want to break this down. So we talked about the cycle, right? Up here at the top, you guys see financial knowledge? So see that? Financial knowledge is where it starts. Okay, at the age of 18 years old, I started studying personal development, and I was really curious about money. Okay, the reason why is my parents got divorced over it. At the age of 8, I watched our house get foreclosed on. I watched our van get repoed. We lived in a tent. I was telling Nana we were homeless in a tent for about 8 weeks. I was 8 years old, so I thought we were just camping. When you're camping, you don't live in a tent for 8 weeks in Seward and shower and bathrooms. I didn't know that at that time. So I was curious about financial knowledge. I was like, man, how does money work? Whether I want it or not, do I know? What is it about? How do you get it? All those things, right? And so I started on the financial knowledge thing, and the next thing that you had to go to was earning money. Then you had to go to keeping the money, and then you had to go to investing the money. As you can see, it's a cycle. It never stops. You're always doing all of these things at the same time. Go ahead and click a couple more times. So I want to break this down for you guys. Income. The reason people don't understand something is often because they don't understand what came right before it. So when we're talking about income, we're not talking about not understanding income. What I'm telling you is the reason people don't save money is because they don't understand income. When somebody doesn't understand something, they don't get the thing that happened right before it. So to not understand income would mean that they wouldn't save. Does that make sense? So people aren't saving money, which means they don't understand income. Okay, so here's income, the noun income, the monetary payment received for goods or services or from other sources as rents or investments. The root means to come in, income, come in, right? So this is interesting. Monetary payment received for goods or services or from other sources. Who's ever heard of the term other people's money? What would you say if I told you it's all other people's money? It was never yours in the first place. Okay, if I want to get a new pair of pants, I've got to get income first. I didn't start with the income. I got to figure out how to get the income to get the new pair of pants. If I want a new car, I've got to figure out how do I get the money to get the car. It wasn't my money. I had to figure out how do I get an idea, back it with confidence, use it for exchange. Okay, so you can earn money a number of different ways. You can do a time-based wage, trading your time for money. This system is broken. This is actually an industrial age system, trading your time for money. You can do a task-based wage, and the difference here is, guys, if you're trading your time for money, you're capped. Every single one of us has 168 hours in a week. If you are trying to trade your time for money, you're going to cap out at 168 hours with no sleep. And the only way you can get more is try and get your hourly wage up, right? So you can change that for a task-based wage. So the more tasks I do, the more I get paid. You can now take the payment off of time and put it on the task. Now again, that comes down to how many tasks can you do and how fast can you do them. Okay? You can also do sales. Who would agree sales is a concept most people don't love initially? Okay, I didn't like it at first. I was like, man, I don't want to be a salesperson. That's why I did Dave Ramsey, by the way. I wanted to be a consultant, not a salesperson. So I felt like when I listened to the show, I was being consulted. I was like, man, if I could do that for other people, I could do well at this without ever having to sell. Okay, but think about this. If I'm trading my time for money, who would also agree that it would make more sense if I could sell this iPhone for money instead and keep my time? That's sales. If I don't know how to sell, I can't do that. So those that don't like sales don't like revenue. Okay, so sales is a way to do it. Business is another way to do it. Business is where you get other people selling for you. I learned that concept at the age of 19, and it's always stuck with me. And then the next one is income is the foundation of wealth. Okay, so these are methods, but the bottom line is income is the foundation of wealth. Without income, you cannot build wealth. Okay, and this doesn't just go for money, this goes for friends. If you're trying to build a network, if you don't have an income of people, you're not going to have a network. If you're trying to get married, if you don't have an income of dates, you're not going to get married. It's with everything, right? So income is king. Anybody that tries to sell you off of income, they're pitching you, man. They're trying to get their income. Next slide. Next one is investing. Okay, this is the hot button. Everyone jumps immediately to investing. When I say wealth, people immediately think invest. Okay, so investing is a verb. We use the verb to put money to use by purchase or expenditure in something offering potential profitable returns as interest, income, or appreciation in value. The root, this is very interesting, to dress or clothe. Think about that. If you're investing, it's literally you're clothing your capital. You're putting something around your capital that's going to clothe it. Okay? So with investing, there's different things you can invest in. The first one is yourself. You are your best investment. So the mistake that we see America making right now is the first investment they make is not in themselves. The first investment they make is in Wall Street. You get a job, 3 days in, what are they pitching to you at the HR meeting?
401k.
The 401k, invented by Ted Bennett in 1979, who today says it's a monster and wishes he never invented it. Wall Street loves the damn thing. Why? Because they can fee you to death. The 401k, the TSP, the 403b, the 401a, all of those, the IRA program, that's not something you want to put money into. You are your best investment. Okay, now, I was never taught this growing up. Most of us weren't. Those that were, you're very lucky and fortunate. I was never taught you are your best investment. So when I first started investing, I wouldn't even drop $15 a month to have audible.com on my phone. Okay, check this out. I knew I needed to read books, right? I was like, man, I need to read books, but I don't want to pay the $15. So, and never tell anyone I told you this, and never duplicate this, okay? Audible had a free trial. You put in your email, you can get a free trial. So I did that to get the free book. I figured out I could listen to the books all the way up to the credits without finishing them, return it, and get another book 4 times. So I did that all year long. Another email address, another book, another email address, another book, another email address, another book. That was my way to listen to books without ever having to invest in myself. Now the problem with that is this. I stole the information, so I discredited the source, meaning I didn't use it. There's also no skin in the game. I was never committed in the first place, so I never used the information. Guys, I read so many books. I had a pizza delivery route for 3 years, 8 hours a day. All I did was listen to audiobooks. I didn't go to college, but I knew by the age of 22 more than most college degree graduates would ever know about business because of the amount of content I consumed driving pizza back and forth in Wasilla. So that was investing in myself at that point, but I didn't actually ever invest because I didn't clothe my capital. There was never money involved. It never got put at risk. Okay, so what I did next was I invested in a $49 course by Grant Cardone. It was about how to prospect and how to build up a pipeline. I wasn't making money. I just stole Grant's book on Audible. And I was trying to get my friend, Jeremy Tompkins here in Anchorage, I was trying to get him to split the course with me. I was like, dude, you go $25 in, I'll go $25 in, it'll be awesome. And I remember he texted me back, he's like, or you could just pay the $49. So I bucked up. That was the most money I'd ever invested in myself. I paid the $49, got on the course, and it blew my mind how good the content was, to the degree that I purchased a program called Millions on the Phone. Okay, Millions on the Phone, that was a $997 program. It came with Cardone U. That one I split with my friend Carlos. I was like, Carlos, dude, you go 500 in, I'll go 500 in, it's gonna be awesome. Carlos never logged in once, and I consumed the content like a maniac. That was the most money I'd ever spent. And I realized when I used up the content that there was more. That's when I got on Cardone University. That was another $1,000 investment. I got it on a holiday special that December. 1,500 videos that broke down everything I ever could learn about sales. Okay, my income went from $30,000 to $50,000 to $80,000 to $200,000 to over $500,000 to over $1 million over the course of about 4 years, just from doing that program. And I say that not to brag, I say that to show you that I was a graduate from Houston High School in Wasilla. Parents were divorced, 62 kids in my graduating class. I was a C average student. By 10th grade, I had quit on school. My senior year, I literally had 3 weight training classes. That was it. Didn't show up to anything. Rock on, man. Yeah. Same thing, right? So if I can do that with that level of education, you can too. It's not about the education, it's about the desire and the push. Okay, so I realized investing in myself was the biggest thing. Now I started investing in myself, and then I started to realize and look around at who's making all the money and who has been making all the money. When I started doing that study, and you guys are gonna find that out tonight, banks. You want to be a bank. If possible, in any way, shape, or form, you want to be a bank. Banks own nothing, yet they own everything. Banks are the only group that can take a liability and turn it into an asset by just flipping it on their books and lending it out to somebody else. Okay, you want to be a bank. So that's the next best investment. If you are investing in yourself, you then should look at, how do I become a bank? How do I start doing what banks do? Okay? Once you're done doing that, or simultaneously, then you want to look at real estate. You can also look at small businesses. You can invest in anything that makes wealth scalable. Okay? Scalable means you can repeat it. What are some things you can't repeat? Maybe a deviation in a share price. You can't repeat that. That's luck. Hoping something goes up in value is not investing. That's speculation. So investing is basically where the investing stops the time and money trade. If you can't predict it, you can't stop the time and money trade. Next slide. Now the one nobody talks about, this is the linchpin, this is saving money. Saving money. Now the only people that talk about saving are typically broke people, or like people that are teaching the right answer. They're just teaching you what they've been taught. But usually you don't hear the average person talk about saving. We talk about it a lot. The reason why, saving is to set aside, reserve, or lay by to lay up money as the result of economy or thrift. The root is to make safe or secure. Okay, so where could you save? You could save in a savings account, right? You could save in a certificate of deposit, a CD. I also like to call them certificates of depression and certificates of depreciation. You can save in cash. That's a liability, by the way. It goes down in value every year. And this is kind of a bunny trail. Who saw my Facebook post today about the postage? Okay, postage went up 3 cents. That's 6% increase. Okay, who's been told there's no inflation? Dude, the government prints the stamps. The government controls the taxes. The government controls the inflation. If they raise their prices, there's inflation. That's a 6% inflation rate. Okay? You can save in life insurance, one of my favorite vehicles. The wealthy have used this for centuries. But the bottom line is the saving is the linchpin of wealth. If you do not save money, you will not be wealthy. Those that save build wealth. Those that don't, they might read books about wealth. They might post about wealth on Facebook. They might know people who are wealthy. Their upline might be wealthy. Their buddy might be wealthy. But I guarantee you, they are not. So money must be saved to be invested. There's no such thing as no money down. There's no such thing as get rich quick. You have to have money put aside in order to build wealth. And we're going to talk about that later tonight. Next slide. So guys, here's the problem. So when we're going through these slides, I want you to realize this is America today, okay? 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That means 8 out of 10 people you know are terrified every 2 weeks. Okay, I remember being here, and I remember the moment that I left that, the breath of fresh air that stepped into my life. And again, not to brag, to tell you that that's a real thing. Like, this was not long ago when I almost lost my car, when we almost got evicted from our apartment. But when we realized we've got enough money coming in and enough money in the bank where we're no longer paycheck to paycheck, it was a new sense of freedom. We can tip, we can go to a restaurant and tip and not even be worried. Who's ever been like, man, I want to tip so bad, but it's just not in the account? I've done that. I hated it, okay? 65% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. Sorry, 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. Okay, $1,000, 1 in 5 Americans admit they don't even own a savings account. That's called financial apathy. The average credit card debt per household has almost $10,000. By the way, Alaska is the national leader in credit card debt with $13,000 per capita. We're winning in that. That's not a good thing. That means that Alaskans are not earning enough income. That is not the thing you want to win at. Okay? 1 in 4 pre-retirees will have to postpone at age 60. Who has 4 grandparents? Your mom and dad had a mom and dad, and that's 4 grandparents. One of them will get to age 60 and find out that they can't retire. And by the way, you will pay for all 4 of their long-term care costs. 94% of Americans cannot pass a financial literacy test. 10% of Americans collect 50% of all the income. 10% of Americans own 84% of all wealth. 70% of Americans are disengaged with their work. Okay, guys, this is America right now. And we can look at these 2 categories and say, man, those guys are evil and wrong. Or we can find out, what are they doing? How do I do what they're doing? And that's what we're going to focus on tonight. Next slide. So guys, here's the reality of the situation. On top of that, there's this cycle. This is something I didn't learn until about 3 or 4 years ago. This is the information that made me sick. Okay? So at the very top here, who knows what the Federal Reserve Bank is? Who's ever heard of that? Okay, I'd never heard of that till about 4 years ago. I've heard about the Treasury and all this stuff. The Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned bank. Okay, it's not federal and it's not a reserve. Okay, it's a privately held corporation. The Federal Reserve takes money and they give their money to big banks. These big banks purchase debt from the U.S. Treasury. So this is a cycle that goes on, right? So the U.S. government needs money. Who's ever wondered, where does the United States get money from? As a kid, I never thought to ask that question. I was never like, man, how did we get money in the first place? It doesn't just come out of thin air. So the way that it comes into existence is the U.S. Treasury sells its debt, AKA they borrow money from banks. Okay, the banks they borrow the money from take the U.S. debt, they sell it to the Federal Reserve Bank for a profit, then they take that profit and they go buy more. And they keep on repeating that cycle. Okay, that's how the United States government gets money. So the U.S. Treasury then gets this influx of cash that, by the way, when this money comes from the Federal Reserve Bank, it's printed out of thin air. They draw it from an account that has a blank check. There's nothing in it. They just pull money out of nowhere. Okay, so the U.S. government gets this money and they push it into consumers and institutions. Okay, companies get money, banks get money, people work at jobs, they get money, right? So people start working for this fake money. Now this fake money gets deposited back into banks. Banks are now touching this for the third time. Okay, when they deposit the money in banks, what I didn't know as a kid is banks don't just keep the money in a box in the safe. They do what's called fractional reserve banking. It means that they're allowed to take your $1 and loan that out to 10 people simultaneously and earn interest on all of those. And they only have to keep a 10% reserve requirement. Okay, that's called leverage. That also lowers the buying power of that money because a bunch of fake currency just got created. The IRS then taxes that fake money to get the money that they need to pay the U.S. Treasury, so that the U.S. Treasury can pay the interest that they owe on the loan to the banks, who then give it back to the Federal Reserve Bank in return to buy more debt. Okay, so here are the facts, guys. The Federal Reserve Bank is a privately held corporation with secret owners. Nobody actually knows who owns this. And basically, the Federal Reserve creates currency out of nowhere. Step number 2, the Federal Reserve sells that currency to big banks in exchange for U.S. debt. The U.S. must now pay interest to the Federal Reserve. Step number 3, big banks exchange the currency to the U.S. Treasury in exchange for more debts to continue to sell to the Federal Reserve. Step number 4, the Treasury flows new currency into the hands of consumers and institutions. This reduces the purchasing power of our money and increases prices. That's where inflation comes from, guys. That postage stamp I mentioned earlier did not become more valuable. Okay, the money that's used to purchase it became less valuable because there's more fake currency in the actual economy and the buying power went down. Okay, step number 5, we deposit our money in the banks. Fractional reserve lending takes place with the money, further reducing the purchasing power of our money, increasing prices again. Number 6, the IRS then taxes this money and they collect it to give to the U.S. Treasury. The IRS then gives the tax money to the Treasury. The Treasury uses those tax dollars to pay the loans that it owes to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve collects the income and distributes a 6% dividend to its owners, and the cycle then repeats. That's how the economy works. So when I'm talking to you guys tonight and I'm saying it doesn't matter about paying off your debts, retirement is not something you should be thinking about. This is why. You need to be thinking about, how do I break out of this system? Okay, here are the facts. Currency is not real. It's not backed by anything. It's literally made up by the Federal Reserve. The U.S. government is owned by a private mega bank. And then the next one is the currency issued by the Federal Reserve reduces the purchasing power of our dollars and increases prices. And then the next one is banks lend your money out on a 10-to-1 ratio called fractional reserve banking, further reducing the purchasing power and increasing your prices. And then we get down to we work for this currency, and we are what's utilized to pay off the debt that our country owes to the Federal Reserve Bank. That part should piss you off. Okay, so when we're talking financial freedom, you should have your own personal purposes, like wanting to spend time with family, traveling, but the major one that should underlie is you don't want to be in financial slavery. Okay, these guys didn't do the work. They didn't work your job. They didn't put in the hours. They didn't put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get your business started. But they're reaping the benefits and literally getting paid off your efforts using this system. Okay, you should consider that criminal, okay? And I believe to not do something about that for yourself is treasonous to you and your family. You should take that very seriously and look at, how do I get free from this? Okay? And then lastly, our tax dollars are used to pay off the debt that our government owes to the Federal Reserve. Taxes will always go up. The debt ceiling will always go up. The budget deficit will never stop. That's part of the economic system that we live in today. Okay, those are the facts. Next slide. So you have 3 choices, like we talked about. You can go into poverty and say, I quit, never doing money again, I'm done with this. I tried that, I don't recommend it, it doesn't work. It's the reason we have Operation Reborn. People have done that, and so we're looking at how do we get them out of that mindset and back into productivity. You can do what's called denial, in other words, the middle class. This is too scary to look at, I don't want to confront it, I don't want to handle it, so I'm going to continue going to Olive Garden on Sunday nights and driving my VW Passat to work and clocking out at 5 p.m. and going home to watch sitcoms. Or you can build wealth. Okay, building wealth is what we're talking about. So when people choose wealth, we help those people. The way out is you earn and save money, you invest it into income-producing assets. Those assets multiply and reproduce the income, and they bypass the IRS so that you can control your freedom, how much you're taxed, how quickly your dollars go up in value, and you're able to avoid that system. Okay? So those are the things we teach, and again, it comes down to earn money at a rate faster than it's being devalued. That's thing number one. Earn it faster than it can be devalued. If we looked at postage, it was a 6% inflation rate. That meant that money was at least 6% devalued over the last year. So let me ask you, did you earn more than 6% income year over year in the last 12 months? If the answer is no, we need to focus on that first step. How do we increase your income? Save 40% of it is step number 2. We're going to talk about that tonight. Okay, number 3, invest in tangible and income producing assets. Okay, get this, your 401k will not help you out of this. You're literally going into business with the banks and with IRS, with your 401k. Those are the people we just looked at on the first slide here that were taking advantage of you. You don't want to invest with them. Okay, that's not a good group. That's like Vinny and the gang, right? They're going to jump you in the alley when you're not looking. Then you can become financially free. When you do those things, you become financially free, but it's a repetitive cycle. Okay, wealth isn't hard, it's just boring. It's not exciting. You do the same thing over and over and over. Okay, you study the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, they didn't try all these new business ventures. Like Rockefeller, dude did oil. That was it. Like he, for decades upon decades, he just did oil. Think about all the cool things that were happening. Henry Ford was inventing motor cars. Rockefeller didn't touch it. He did oil. That's all he did. He didn't say, I'm going to jump in on the new cars. Well, he said, I do oil. Not interested in that. The oil thing works. I'm going to keep growing that empire. Okay, wealth is boring, and that's why most people quit. Next slide. So here's the inflation. If you don't believe me, guys, this is from 1913 to 2016. If you had $1 in 1913, you would need $24.31 to buy the same thing that $1 bought 103 years before. Okay, that's a cumulative devaluation rate of 2,330% over the last 103 years. 2,330% is how much your money went down in value. Okay, if you don't believe me, this is what the dollar looked like. This is what it would look like today. You have that much of a dollar. So when you're holding cash, realize it's literally a liability. It's going to go down in value. Next slide. Okay, and then this is even worse. So we're looking at basically the income, right? We're talking first about the way to solve this is you out-earn the inflation. Okay, this is since 1965. So we have 1965 over here. We have 2013 over here. These are different wealth classes inside the U.S., okay? So this bottom one that we have here, this is the bottom 20% of income earners in the United States. Okay, $11,215 per year is what I believe that says. That line is flat. That hasn't changed, right? Since the 1960s. The next one we look at, these people are earning about $30,000 a year. That's the orange line. They've kind of always done that, right? Okay, you look at the next line, the red line. This is the middle class, okay? These people earn about 50 grand a year. They've kind of always done that. Like, realize these numbers haven't changed. This is the upper middle class. This is everybody that's driving the VW Passat and eating at Olive Garden on the weekend. They have a 3-bedroom home, and they live on South Side of Anchorage. Okay, they earn about 80 grand a year. They've kind of always done that. Then you see two distinct groups. You see this group, and you see this group. Okay, this is the top 20% income earners. They earn $178,000 per year. These guys are officially out of the middle class. Okay, now I want you to look at this. They were around the same trend, and you see that they really took off right around here. And then it continued to jump up right around here. And I want you to ask yourself, why do you think that happened? There were behaviors that they had and decisions they made that the other four groups didn't make. And it caused them to excel, right? And if you look at the top 5% of income earners, their graph was entirely different. Okay, that's called a condition of power. That means that they're so high up right now that it's not coming down. They're just going to keep compounding. They've got so much going on that it just keeps on growing. And the thing is these people aren't focused on just their income. That's the difference between this group and this group. This group's doing good. These guys are focused on future generations. The reason they're doing so well is they're not focusing on their next money. They're focusing on, how do I teach someone else to duplicate what I did in my lifetime? How do I create a system that my kids and my grandkids could plug into and duplicate this entire thing? Okay? So when you look at income earners, you can be in this group, and this group, and you can say, man, those guys are evil. But I want you to think about this. When you watch the news, you hear about these guys, and you hear about these guys, right? When is the last time you heard someone talk about these numbers haven't changed in over 50 years? That's the real problem. It's not bottom wage, it's not top wage, it's median wage. Median wage is the thing you should be concerned about. It's the fact that your wages are stagnant, meanwhile inflation hasn't been. Next slide. So the next thing we're looking at here, guys, this is going to be income growth. And this is, again, very similar. So the faster income from the bottom is basically looking at the minimum wage law. So if you look at, again, the top 5% of wealth, this is, again, the same kind of a timeline, 2015 to 1965. This shows you about the same thing. This one is measuring income growth. So the last one was just gross income. This one is measuring income growth. So if you look at the income growth trend, these guys here, this spaghetti pattern right here, they all pretty much stayed in the same range. And what this represents is behavior. They all kind of act the same, especially these three groups. These guys act a little bit different to create enough of a gap to where they feel better and comfortable. This is called comparison mindset. Well, at least I'm doing better than the red group. At least I'm doing better than those people over in Africa or in China. But then you see these guys up here. These are totally different. This guy is chasing this guy. This guy is chasing his potential. They're not focused on comparing to the bottom. That's why they went up so much. So what I'm getting at is when you start looking at creating wealth, you can't be comparing yourself to your friends or your family, your coworkers. You need to be looking at A, if you're trying to be in this group, what's my potential? Because there's nobody above you to compare to except for yourself. Or B, if I'm just trying to be in the top 20%, I need to mimic the top 1%'s wealth patterns. Even if I miss, I'm going to be in this group. But if I'm focused on, I'm better off than these guys, or I'm hanging out with my peers, these are the groups I'm going to be in, and this is what it's going to look like. And I can be emotionally attached to this, but objectively, when I become a number on the chart, the number is the number, dude. Can't argue with it. Next slide. Now, one of the other things we talked about was debt, right? Debt is one of those things that we focus on. We hear people talk all the time, pay off your credit cards, don't get in debt. And I don't think you should get in massive consumer debt. I think that's irresponsible. I think that comes from a lack of ability to earn income. But I want you to look at this. This is the debt in the US right now. This is from 2009, so from 1980 to 2009. What's the first thing you noticed about this chart? Who wants to volunteer the first thing you noticed?
It gets separated the longer time goes on at a greater margin.
Yeah. So this is a greater margin as time goes on, it gets worse. Who's ever seen magic or a magician where they talk about a red herring? A red herring is something they do during the trick to make you look at that instead of what's really going on. What if I told you household debt was a red herring? Where the root problem is that the income never went up. Think about the very first time you got in debt. It wasn't for fun. It wasn't because you wanted to, it's because you didn't have money. Your income wasn't high enough to cover something, you had to get into credit card debt. That's where debt comes from, is lack of income. So the worse the income numbers look because of the wages not increasing, the more debt you're going to find yourself in. See, the problem is not debt, the problem is income. When you fix the income, you fix the debt. When we work with clients, by the way, we tell them, do not pay anything on your debt. Pay the minimum. Only pay the minimum. The reason why is you should look at paying off debt as an investment. Okay, it has a rate of return. When you pay it off early, you save interest, right? That's a rate of return. It has a yield. When you pay it off all the way, you get the cash flow back, so that's got a yield. It has a principal value. So you can actually look at, all right, right now do I invest in something that's going to increase my income? Like in my story, when I was able to double and triple my income, there's no reason I should have paid off a credit card. I was doubling and tripling my income. My rate of return was 100, 200, and 300%. Okay, why would I pay off a 12% credit card when I'm earning 300% of my money? That's the mindset you've got to have. Okay? And when you finally do pay off the debt, don't pay it off to where you're broke. That's the reason people go back in debt. They pay off their debt, yet they didn't have anything saved, they still weren't solvent, and they had to go right back into debt. Okay, these are common things we should learn that we're not being taught about money. Next slide. So here's a couple things I want you guys to look at. We have what's called the 40% rule. So the 40% rule looks like this. These are the top 10 countries in the world right now, And it's showing you median wage, tax rate, net savings rate, and then the number of hours they work per week. So I want you to check this out. Income, who's winning, guys? USA, right? $54,000 a year, we're crushing it. Okay? Now, savings rate. Where are we at? We're last. We're saving 4%. Okay? Let's look at tax rate. Who's paying the most in taxes? The Netherlands? Suck to live there. Wait, they're saving more money than us though. See, it's about responsibility. It's not about taxes. It's not about the economy. These guys earn less money, pay more in taxes, and save more than we do. Okay, the country that I want you to look at on this is Switzerland, guys. Switzerland is killing it. They're #1 in savings. Now think about this. When is the last time you heard about Switzerland getting an award? You don't, dude. They're too busy making money. They're just stacking it. Okay, you go to Switzerland, Swiss watches, Swiss bank accounts. Like, you think wealth when you think Switzerland, right? It's a country that they do their thing. They're removed from it all. It's a mentality they have. They're all very focused on money. It's a culture. And so you have to be, someone said Swissness? You have to be focused on the Swissness. Okay, how do you earn more income? How do you keep it too? That's an attitude, that's a culture. The government is not going to do that for you. There's no education system that can do that for you. I watched a documentary where they were talking about, well, how does the government help Americans save more money? They can't. That's called Social Security. We already seen what happened with that. You have to do that for yourself. No one's going to fight that battle for you. Now, this is my favorite graph, guys. The 40% rule. As you can tell, I love graphs. Two things I love in life, graphs and learning about where words came from. Okay? So graphs, this is showing different wealth classes. We have from 1913 to 2012. You know, I love that this started in 1913. The reason why, who can tell me what happened in 1913?
The end of World War I?
Was World War I right around there, or was that right after? It was in that era. That's close. Not quite the answer I'm looking for. In 1913, two major things happened. The Federal Reserve Bank got started, and income tax started. And it's not a coincidence that those two things started. So I want you to look at this. This is showing you this top group here, this line. This is the top 1% of wealth. Okay? Then we have this middle group. This is the next 9% spread. So it's the top 10% to the top 2%. Then you've got this bottom dotted line is the bottom 90% of income earners in the country. Okay, so I want you to look at this. This is measuring savings rate by wealth class. So you see the top 1% of wealth, they save statistically about 40% of their income. This is of their gross income. Okay, when I first saw this chart, this changed everything for me. You can actually see mathematical and statistical proof that the top 1% of wealth save 40% of everything they make. It's not a theory, it's history. This is actually what they did. Now, this is showing you the next 10% spread. They started at 30, dropped it down to 10, right in the 20s. Right now, they're probably about 10%, right? Then the bottom 90%, they've never done much. They've saved 3 to 5% some years. Some years they were in debt. Okay, but I want you to check this out. When I looked at this, the first thing my eyes got drawn to was this right here. Who else saw that first? You like kind of looked at the graph, got oriented, and you're like, dang, it's a big dip. So when I looked at this, I was like, man, those top 1% guys, they sure got hit hard. But think about it. This is measuring savings rate. So it's telling you that right here, 1930. Sean, what happened in 1930?
Ooh, that was the Great Depression.
The Great Depression. Okay? 1930, their savings rate not only dropped, it went below zero, meaning they went into debt. They had been saving 40% of their income. When the economy crashed, they stopped saving and they bought everything. All of the real estate, all of the businesses, all of the stocks, to the degree that they went into debt to do it. And then I want you to look, as soon as the Depression was done, their savings rate went to an all-time high. It's never been that high on the entire chart. That's why you need to be saving 40% of your income. It's not so you can save for a rainy day. You save. By the way, saving for a rainy day came from a government war bond campaign. Make it rain meant bombs. If you're saving for a rainy day when they drop bombs, you needed to fund it for them. You don't save for a rainy day, you save for crisis. Okay, money is never lost, it just transfers hands. So if you're in a position to transfer and get discounts and get those sales, an economic crisis for somebody else can be the greatest investment opportunity of your lifetime. Okay, now I want you to check this out. Now the bottom, or the next 10% spread, they kind of caught on, right? So they kind of did the same thing. Great Depression happened, and like, I'll buy some too. And I want you to look at, they went up, and what happened here? These guys, this is the 1950s, we had another recession, they did the same thing. These guys did not follow in suit. They didn't invest. They missed the opportunity. I want you to watch what happens. They dropped. Again, these guys dipped, they went up. So these guys dipped, meaning they had money, they had confidence and certainty to go in and invest. These guys had fear. That's why they saved more. They restricted. When they restricted, look what happened to their stat. They dipped again. And then they dipped again, and then they dipped again, and they've never recovered. Okay, now I want you to look at this. 1930, Great Depression. 1950s, that was a recession. 1970s, that was a recession. 1999, that was a recession. 2008, that was a recession. Every single recession, the top 1% of wealth have invested. On the dot, it's clockwork, guys. Like this is not coincidence. You have to look at this stuff. Now the bottom 90%, check this out. This was the roaring 20s. Times were good. They were saving money. Man, this is awesome. And they stopped saving. They started consuming. And I want you to look at this. It's this little blip. The Depression happened, and they tried to save their way out of it. That was too late. At that point, it was done. There's no way to save your way out of a recession. The only way to get out of a recession is to promote, to invest, and to increase your income. Saving will not help you at that point. Okay? So when you're watching this, like takeaways you should have, save 40% of your income. Now the only way you're going to do that is by making at least 10 grand a month. And that's for a single person. For a single person. If you have a family, you probably need to double that number. Think about though, 10 grand a month, a single guy, right? Let's pick Mike. Mike's making 10 grand a month. Mike saves 40%. That's 4,000 right off the top. Mike's down to 6 grand and he still has to pay his taxes. He still has to pay health insurance. That's another 2 grand. Mike's only got 4 grand a month to live on now. That's paycheck to paycheck in Anchorage. Okay, so consider when you increase your savings, you have to increase your income. This is actually a leading activity. Most people say, I'll save when I get there. You need to save now so it pushes your income up. Okay, we have what we call the Wealth Dynamics Sacred Account. We use life insurance. We will have our clients commit to a savings amount that they're not ready for, so it scares the hell out of them and they increase their income. They're like, dude, I have a $1,500 a month payment that's going to go to my Sacred Account. It's coming out on the 15th. I need to go make another sale. Now, the beauty is that they're probably doing that already with their car payment and their house payment, but with this account, they're actually keeping the money. It's there. When they need it, it's there. So they can go invest it, but they've been putting it aside and they feel broke. Okay, who's in sales professionally? Like who actually sells a product or service for a living? Who's ever experienced when you get too much money in the bank, your sales drop? I have. I'm comfortable. I'm like, dude, I got 50 grand. I don't have to sell anything. I'm good. And then an emergency happens and I'm like, crap, and I jump back on it. So the way you avoid that is you go broke. You do it to yourself on purpose. Okay? So Lexi, I want to skip a couple slides because I'm long-winded. We're taking a little long. Go ahead and skip, stop right here. Go back. So guys, this is the plan. So we covered a lot. Next week we're going to finish this thing up. But if you're looking at how do I get out of this position, there are 8 steps you need to take. Now this is from Grant Cardone's Millionaire booklet. I'm a Grant Cardone certified coach and licensee, #1 in the world. #1 is make a decision. I just got to toot that word. Make a decision. You have to make a decision to build wealth. Okay, decide means to cut off. Who's ever cut something off before? Whether that was, you were cutting up a moose. Who's ever cut a body part off before? Finger? It's off, right? Like that thing's gone. Okay, my brother cut his finger off in the door one time. That thing was detached. Like there was no question about whether that finger was still attached or not. When you make a decision, you cut off, meaning you got rid of everything else and committed to one option. Okay? Do the math. You have to figure the math out on what do I need. You can't just say I need $1 million in retirement. You can't just say I need 60 to 80% of my income when I retire. You have to do the math and figure out what are my expenses? What do I need to save? What's inflation going to be? What are taxes going to be? And if you don't know those numbers, then you're going to be 1 out of 4 retirees at age 60 that finds out that they can't make it happen. Or that has less than 35 grand in the bank. Okay? Increase your income is step 3. This is instant, guys. Increase your income. You should go home tonight and take everything you own, rate it on a 1 to 5 scale. 5 means it produces income for you. You keep it. 4 means it's vital for survival. You keep it. 3 is a maybe. You're probably going to sell that on Craigslist. 2 means you don't need it right now. You're going to get rid of it, no questions asked. 1 is it's dumb and it didn't provide you anything. You don't need it at all. Get rid of that. If you sold all of that this weekend, you would probably generate anywhere from 5 to 10 grand. Okay, think about your four-wheeler, your snow machine, your toys, all the stuff you don't actually need right now. Okay, so increasing your income is that simple. Then you have to, step number 4, look at who's got my money. If you're trying to increase your income, you need to ask yourself, who's got my money? Okay, now a lot of people hear this quote and they're like, man, I don't like that. It's marketing genius. Who's got my money refers to if money is an idea backed by confidence, used for exchange. If I'm trying to get money, I need to reverse engineer the process. Who am I going to exchange with? How do I make them confident in my ability? What idea do I need to have for them to be confident? Okay, who's got my money is identifying who your audience is and how you're going to make that exchange happen. Okay, step number 5, go broke. Go broke. That's the 40% rule, guys. If you're not going broke, I guarantee wealth will happen. Okay, we save 40% of our income every single month so that we go broke and we're hungry every single month. Okay, I was talking to a client of mine and we were talking about assets and liabilities and incomes. He's like, dude, I can't believe you made that much. I was like, yeah, but I don't see any of it. I don't feel like I made that much money last year because we set it all aside in assets. Like, to me, it doesn't even exist. Like, it's on paper, but it's not there. I can't use it. It's locked up. It's doing stuff right now. Because of that, we act like we're broke all the time. You can ask Mike and Nana. We moved in here. It's like, guys, we're broke. We're using card tables for the first 4 weeks, right? We're broke right now. All of it got reinvested. Okay, number 6, stop saving for a rainy day. Save to invest. Number 7, add multiple flows of income. Number 8, economize, refocus, and reinforce. You have to continue doing these actions. This is how you get financially independent. Okay, next slide. So if you're here tonight and you're not a client of ours, we want to make an offer to you. Now, this does not cost any money. It costs you $0. It's free. Okay, so we have a program called the Wealth Creation Formula. The Wealth Creation Formula is us taking all 8 of those steps that we just shared with you, and we build out your 8 steps, your customized plan. Now, traditional financial planners, you pay somebody to give you a plan for a possibility that you might retire. Okay, it's irrelevant, meaning that the numbers are made up. Mike Tyson, one of my favorite quotes, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. You can pay $2 grand and get a financial plan. Those numbers are not going to be relevant in 12 months. Guarantee it, okay? It's speculative, meaning you're going to invest in the markets with a financial advisor. They don't even know what it is. They're just repeating what their mutual fund rep told them to say so that they could win the quarterly contest. It's expensive, and you have long, arduous meetings. Who's ever been in a financial planning meeting before? Nobody? I'm glad for you. They're 2 hours long. The reason I know is I used to conduct them. They're 2 hours long. None of it makes sense. None of it matters. My sales process literally used to be, and this is very unethical, that I used to do this, when their eyes glazed over, I knew I could close. They didn't know what I was saying anymore. They were like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Dave said to. They're long, arduous meetings. That's the process that most people are going through. So what we've done is we've created the wealth creation formula. So we're going to bypass traditional financial advisory systems, and you're going to get a plan put together that's going to go through these areas. The proven strategies of the top 1%, how do you apply those to your own life? All the information we covered tonight, who here was learning some of this for the first time? Okay, almost everyone in the room, same thing on the live stream. What if you could actually get a plan to apply all of the information you learned tonight and actually make it relevant to your numbers? And you knew how to follow it, and it was right in front of you. Okay, so we put that together. We have 3 versions. We have a basic plan, an advanced plan, and a premier plan. The reason we don't charge a monetary fee is we have a referral charge on these instead. So when we do the basic plan with somebody, our cost is 5 referrals. A referral is an introduction to a person who also could benefit from this that's willing to take a 5-minute phone call from us. That's it. Doesn't mean they have to do business. It just means that you had to say, hey, I gave Jerry your number. Are you okay with him calling? Okay. We have an advanced plan that gets 10 referrals, and 15 is, the premier's 15 referrals. The basic plan covers the financial strategies you need. It gives you a financial statement. It's going to give you a protection analysis, a debt elimination plan, and it's going to give you a comprehensive action plan. Okay, all of that, 5 referrals, we're going to cover your financial systems, your protection, your debt pay down, and give you an action plan to follow. Okay, the advanced plan is going to cover the same strategies, the financial statement, protection analysis, a debt pay down plan, your cash flow analysis for future investing, an investment projection, investment analysis to compare different investments for you, And then you're gonna get the comprehensive action plan plus some exclusive financial tools that we provide to our clients only. That's 10 referrals. The Premier Plan includes all of that, plus we took the plan last year, we turned it into an app. So you're gonna have a login and a password to get your own plan with your app, make changes and alterations, and we're gonna build that out for you. Okay, so this is something that we want to provide to you tonight if you're not currently on this program. If you're online, Nano's going to drop a link in the comments. You can submit your information and get that. If you're here tonight and you like that, ask one of our staff members. Next slide. And what we're going to cover is this, guys. We're going to teach you how do you create income, how do you increase it, how do you save it, how and where do you invest it, how do you get multiple flows of income, how do you increase those, how do you save those again. I told you wealth was boring. How do you invest it? How do you increase it? How do you create it? How do you increase it, save it, multiply it? It's the same cycle over and over and over. But we're going to give you a plan to actually make this real to you. Okay, it's not theory at that point. It's here's my numbers. This is where I want to be. This is where I am. And here's all the steps I need to take to get there. Next slide. So a couple things I want to give you guys tonight. Okay, whether you sign up with us or not, this is called DITI. When we work with clients, typically we can help people free up just, up to I've seen up to $1,500 per month just on DITI. So DITI stands for debt, insurance, taxes, and investment fees. These are the 4 areas almost every American is overpaying for in their budget. Okay, they pay off their debt too soon. They have to pay way too much in insurance. They're not claiming exemptions on their taxes, and they're paying fees to Wall Street by contributing to their 401k plan when they're broke. So when we meet with people, we tell them, pay only your minimums on your debt. Okay, that's gonna free up cash flow. Cut all insurance costs that you can. Increase your deductibles. Don't worry, you're gonna be saving money. You'll be able to handle those when they come up. Get rid of stuff that you don't need. There's only 8 types of insurances that are legitimate for you to own. The rest of them you can cut. Claim as many exemptions as you can on your taxes. You should not be getting a tax return at the end of the year. And then stop contributing to your retirement plans. If you're financially insolvent, and what we define financially insolvent as is you have less than 50 grand saved. If you have less than 50 grand in the bank, there's no reason you should be giving money to Wall Street. There's no reason you should be overpaying Visa and MasterCard. Guys, these are $1 billion institutions. They're gonna be fine. They don't need your extra money. You need to get solvent first. So this is gonna help you free up anywhere from $500 a month to about $1,500 per month in income for you to save and set aside, and your first target is save 10 grand. Okay, then you get to 20, then you get to 25, then you get to 50. Once you're at 50, you'll be able to go wipe out your debt if you wanted to. You can go invest in something real if you wanted to, but you actually have solvency. Next slide. And then as we go through this, we do offer a number of different products and services to enhance your journey as you're going. We have programs to help you increase your income, to protect it, to save, to invest. Our goal is to help you first get accredited as an investor, and second, get to that $10 million net worth. Guys, that's the chase I'm on. If you know me and you see how hard I push, it's because I know how to get there, and I'm not there yet. I'm running. Okay? And so if you want to come with me, this is the plan that we're using. This is the plan that the top 1% use. This is what we're teaching, and it's going to help you do the same thing. Next slide. Go ahead and shrink it. Yeah, there you go. So a couple testimonials I want to share with you guys before we wrap things up tonight. So this is my client, Dusty. Dusty owns 1023 Diesel, and he lives in Wasilla. I grew up with Dusty. I've known him since I was like 12. Dusty went to the 10X Growth Conference with us last week. So Dusty said that in the first couple of months working with us, he said, we committed to 3 years and thousands of dollars to the most extensive sales training program on the planet. That key piece that most men and women miss allowed us to take our goal, and we nearly tripled it, closing the year out at $174,000. That was last year. So their goal was like 80 grand last year. They closed at $174,000. In 2018, they 10x that goal. Okay, 1023 Diesel did almost $2 million in revenue last year following this program. So when you're like, does this thing work? You could call Dusty. Google 1023 Diesel and call Dusty. I'm going to go see him tomorrow. Okay, next slide. This is my client, Brenda. She's down in California. She said she did 3 closes that day and officially did 8 in 8 weeks. Did it in 8 weeks with what basically the last record holder at her personal training company. She did their 8-week record in 3 days on our program. She said she's on track to blow the high sales mark out of the water without even being promoted. and having the advantage of selling more expensive packages. So Brenna basically got on one of our programs that focuses on sales, and she did in 3 days what the record was, and it took the last record holder 8 weeks to accomplish that goal. Next slide. Clayton Nelson, one of my clients here in Anchorage. So Clayton was working with us, and this isn't even his good testimonial. This is his okay one. He said he wanted to thank us for having a ticket to get him down to the Grow Conference. He went last year. He said he learned so much, thinking completely different about where he wanted to go in life. And if he didn't take that step and have me coach him, he would have been stuck in just average. He's excited to see what we can do together. Last year, I helped Clayton stop contributing to his 401k and saved him over $3.7 million in projected fees over the next 4 years. Think about that, $3.7 million in fees. And then the final slide here we're gonna hit tonight before we wrap up. This is a head-to-head comparison of somebody who doesn't have Wealth Dynamics versus somebody who does. Okay, just head-to-head comparison, okay? So let's pretend we're talking to Ted and Susan, age 35 with 2 kids. That's our average client, right? So they're earning 60 grand a year. They're barely making their bills. Every 2 weeks they're terrified, and basically after covering their mortgage debts, their insurance, and having their expenses paid, they have no money left. That's their income situation. With savings, they struggle to save money, and they struggle to invest in themselves because they never improve their income and they never make progress. When it does come to investing, they're contributing their 401k with a 3% match. At retirement, they will have $359,000 and run out of money within 10 years of retiring. And even in 10 years, that's on a $35,000 per year income. Who wants to retire to live on 35 grand a year and run out in 10 years? That's poverty.
Not with inflation, especially.
Right? It's going to be even worse with inflation. So we work with this family. This is kind of what we're going to do with them. So same Ted and Susan. We signed up for Wealth Dynamics University. On average, our clients increase their income by 30% on that program. So that's going to give them an extra $18,000 per year in income. It's not a thing you sign up for and you sell memberships. You're selling whatever your thing is, and we're just teaching you to be better at that. Eric is a painter. We're going to teach Eric how to sell painting jobs better. Jeremy does mortgages. We're going to teach Jeremy how to do mortgages better. That's how we do the program. So we help them earn another 18 grand a year. Who in the room could use another 18 grand a year? Everybody, right? No brainer. In savings, we're able to talk with them about their DITI and save another $1,500 per month in debt, insurance, taxes, and investment costs. That's another 18 grand in addition to what we just helped them earn. So that's 3 grand a month that they're now able to put into their sacred account with us. So they're going to save $36,000 that first year working with us because of the simple changes we made and the hard work they're putting in. Okay, on the investments, they're able to save 50 grand into their sacred account. They borrow against it. They do an investment deal that pays 12%. They're now earning $500 per month in passive income. And on top of that, on the same track, their portfolio is going to grow to $6.2 million and pay them $62,000 per month in passive income without ever running out. Guys, that's the difference. When you're working on a plan that works, that's what you're seeing. It's not struggle and get by. It's I tweak and change. Okay, we didn't do much new. They already knew they should make more money. They already knew they should be saving more. They already knew they could be making better investments. So we didn't add new stuff. We just got rid of the garbage they had. When you get rid of the garbage that's blocking you, it's bogging you down and backing you up, you'd be amazed at the progress you make. Your native condition is not broke, scared, and uncertain. Somebody taught you all that. Somebody gave you all that. Like when you grew up as a kid, you weren't broke, scared, and uncertain. You knew what to do. Even though you knew nothing, you knew what to do. Okay, so that's what we're teaching you to do financially. So if you're here tonight, we do want you to sign up for our referral program. It does not cost you anything. If you're here tonight and you're like, man, I'm not ready yet, or you're online and you're like, I'm not ready yet, we're going to be back here next Friday night. It's still free. Okay, if you just want to buy a book and check out what the books have to say and get some education, books are $30. You spend that on coffee during the week. Get a book, check it out, read it in the next 7 days, come back and see us again. Okay, so guys, we're going to wrap up here. I know I went a little bit long. I do want to get a round of applause for everybody that came out tonight. Thank you all. Have a great Friday. We'll see you next time.